Olivia Hart stared at her computer screen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. The email had arrived at midnight, marked urgent. From a sender who called themselves Truth Seeker, attached were dozens of files. Financial records, contracts, and photographs that painted a damning picture of Julian Pierce, one of the city's most successful real estate developers. The 29-year-old journalist had built her career on exposing corruption. Her last investigation had brought down a corrupt city councilman. This story could be even bigger. Julian Pierce owned half the downtown skyline. And if these documents were real, he had built his empire on lies, bribery, and stolen money. The documents Olivia spent the entire morning reviewing the evidence. Bank transfers to offshore accounts, contracts with suspiciously low bids, emails discussing payments to city officials. Everything looked authentic, down to the official seals and signatures. Her editor, Robert Chen, leaned against her desk, coffee in hand. "This is explosive, Olivia. But Pierce has an army of lawyers. We need to be absolutely certain before we publish anything." She nodded, adjusting her reading glasses. "I know, I want to interview him first. Give him a chance to respond." Robert raised an eyebrow. "You think he'll actually meet with you? Only one way to find out?" The first meeting 2 days later, Olivia walked through the marble lobby of Pierce Tower. Her heels clicked against the polished floor as she approached the reception desk. Despite her professional confidence, butterflies danced in her stomach. She had researched Julian Pierce extensively. 35 years old, self-made billionaire, known for his sharp business sense and charitable foundations. The man in the photographs had striking features: dark hair, and eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. The reality was even more overwhelming when Julian Pierce walked into the conference room.
"Oh!"
Olivia felt the air shift. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out his charcoal suit perfectly. His dark brown hair was styled casually. His eyes were a deep hazel that caught the afternoon light streaming through the windows. But it was the way he carried himself that truly captured her attention. Confident without arrogance, powerful without intimidation, Miss Hart. His voice was smooth, deeper than she expected. He extended his hand. She stood, shaking it firmly. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through her system. His hand was warm, strong, and he held hers just a moment longer than necessary. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. "Mr. Pierce, thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Call me Julian." He gestured to the chair. "And I'm curious. What brings an investigative journalist to my office?" The confrontation Olivia opened her folder, spreading copies of the documents across the table. She watched his face carefully as he examined them. His expression shifted from casual interest to something darker. Recognition, perhaps, or anger. "These documents suggest serious financial misconduct, Mr. Pierce. Bribery, fraud, misappropriation of public funds. What's your response?" Julian leaned back in his chair, his jaw tightening. When he looked up, his eyes held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "My response is that someone has gone to extraordinary lengths to destroy me, and they're using you to do it. That's a serious accusation. So are yours." He stood, walking to the window. The setting sun cast him in silhouette. "These documents are sophisticated forgeries. Very good ones. But forgeries nonetheless." Olivia stood as well, moving closer. She could smell his cologne now, something woodsy and masculine that made her head swim. "Can you prove that?" He turned, and suddenly they were standing much closer than professional distance required. She could see the fine lines around his eyes, the slight stubble on his jaw, the way his chest rose and fell with each breath. "Give me time, and I'll prove everything. But I need you to trust me, Olivia." The way he said her name sent shivers down her spine. She stepped back, trying to regain her professional composure. "Trust isn't something I give easily, especially not to someone I'm investigating." The revelation Julian moved to his desk, pulling out his phone. "I'm going to tell you something that stays off the record until I can provide proof. Can you agree to that?" Olivia hesitated, then nodded. "Off the record, my ex-fiancée, Victoria Sterling, Sent you those documents? The name meant nothing to Olivia, but the pain that flashed across Julian's face was real, raw. We were engaged for 2 years. I ended things 8 months ago when I discovered she was only interested in my money and connections. She didn't take it well. Threatened to ruin me. I didn't take her seriously enough. Why would she target me specifically? Julian's eyes met hers again, and this time there was vulnerability there. Because you're good at what you do. You're honest, thorough, and you have a reputation for taking down powerful people. You're the perfect weapon. Olivia felt a chill run through her. The thought of being manipulated, used as a tool for someone's revenge, made her angry. But there was something else too. The way Julian was looking at her, the genuine emotion in his voice. Either he was an incredible actor, or he was telling the truth. I need evidence, she said quietly. Real evidence that proves your innocence? I'll get it. But it will take time. And I need you to promise me something. What? He stepped closer again, and this time she didn't back away. Don't publish anything until you hear the whole truth. Not just about the business dealings, but about Victoria. About why she hates me enough to do this? Olivia's professional instincts screamed at her to maintain distance, to stay objective. But her heart, that traitorous organ, was already softening toward this man. 48 hours, she heard herself say. You have 48 hours to prove your innocence. Julian's hand reached out, his fingers barely brushing hers. The touch was electric. Thank you, Olivia. You won't regret this. She left his office. Olivia wasn't sure if she was making the biggest mistake of her career or following an instinct that would lead her to the truth. Either way, she knew one thing for certain. Julian Pierce had gotten under her skin in a way no story subject ever had before. Olivia returned to her apartment that evening with her mind racing. She spread the documents across her dining table, comparing dates, signatures, and financial records. Her cat, Whiskers, jumped onto the table, walking across a particularly important contract. She gently moved him aside, her eyes burning from hours of staring at paperwork. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated before answering. Olivia Hart speaking. It's Julian. His voice sent that same unexpected warmth through her. I hope I'm not calling too late. She glanced at the clock. 10:30. I'm still working on my case. On finding the truth, she heard him exhale, a sound that seemed to carry relief. I found something interesting. One of these contracts is dated March 15th. The company listed as the contractor wasn't registered until May 2nd. Either you're terrible at fraud, or someone made a mistake while forging documents. Silence on the other end, then Julian's voice came back stronger. I need to show you something. Can you meet me tomorrow morning? Not at my office. Somewhere private. Every professional alarm in Olivia's head went off. Meeting a subject alone in a private location was breaking cardinal rules of journalism. But something in his tone made her agree. Where? My attorney's office. 9th Street. 8 in the morning. Olivia, bring those documents. All of them. The attorney's office, the law firm of Henderson and Associates, occupied a historic building in the Old Quarter. Olivia arrived 15 minutes early, clutching her briefcase. Julian was already there, standing in the lobby. He wore jeans and a navy sweater today, looking more approachable but no less attractive. His face lit up when he saw her. You came, I said I would. They rode the elevator in silence, standing on opposite sides despite the small space. Olivia could feel the tension between them, thick and electric. When their eyes met in the reflection of the elevator doors, neither looked away. Julian's attorney, Patricia Henderson, was a sharp woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She spread original documents across the conference table beside the copies Olivia had received. His heart. I've represented Julian for 7 years. These forgeries are exceptional, but look here. Patricia pointed to a watermark on one of Olivia's documents. This security paper wasn't used by the city until last year, but this contract is supposedly from 3 years ago. Piecing together the truth, Olivia examined document after document. The more she looked, the more inconsistencies appeared. Fonts that didn't match. Digital signatures that were slightly off. Patricia had bank records proving Julian's money came from legitimate investments, not the shady offshore accounts shown in the forgeries. Victoria Sterling had access to everything, Julian said quietly. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets. When we were engaged, I trusted her completely. She knew my business inside and out. She had copies of contracts, access to my files, relationships with my employees. Tell me about her, Olivia said, putting down her pen. Not the business side. Tell me about your relationship. Julian turned, and the pain in his eyes was unmistakable. He moved to sit across from Olivia, close enough that she could see the fine lines of exhaustion on his face. I met Victoria at a charity gala 3 years ago. She was beautiful, charming, from a wealthy family. Everything seemed perfect. We got engaged after a year. I thought I knew her. He paused, running a hand through his hair. 6 months before the wedding, I overheard her on the phone. She was talking to someone about my assets, about how much she would get in a divorce, about which properties she wanted. I realized she never loved me. She loved what I could give her. An unexpected connection. Olivia found herself reaching across the table, her hand covering his. The gesture was instinctive, unprofessional, and completely genuine. Julian looked down at their joined hands, then back up at her face. When I ended the engagement, she smiled. Actually smiled. She said I would regret humiliating her. That she would take everything from me, piece by piece. I didn't understand what she meant until now. Patricia cleared her throat gently. I'll give you 2 a moment. I need to make some calls. She left, closing the door behind her. The silence that followed was charged with something neither of them wanted to name. Julian turned his hand over, threading his fingers through Olivia's. I know this is complicated, he said softly. You're investigating me. I'm trying to prove my innocence. But I can't stop thinking about you, Olivia. From the moment you walked into my office, something shifted. Olivia knew she should pull her hand away, maintain professional distance, remind him that she was a journalist with a job to do. Instead, she squeezed his hand gently. I feel it too, and it terrifies me. The deeper dive, they spent the rest of the morning going through every document, building a timeline of Victoria's revenge plot. Julian showed Olivia emails from former employees who had been bribed to steal files. He had security footage of Victoria entering his office building after hours, 3 months after their breakup. He had phone records showing dozens of calls between Victoria and the anonymous email account that had contacted Olivia. She studied you, Julian said, showing Olivia a folder his private investigator had compiled. Victoria researched journalists who had taken down powerful figures. Your name came up repeatedly. You were her first choice. Olivia felt violated and angry. She knew I would jump at this story. She knew you were honest enough to verify everything before publishing. She was counting on you doing exactly what you're doing now. Meeting with me. Investigating deeper. She wanted this to drag out. Wanted the rumors and speculation to damage my reputation even before anything was published. A private moment. It was past noon when they finally finished. Patricia had left hours ago, leaving them alone in the conference room. Olivia stood, stretching her back. Julian moved behind her, his hands hovering near her shoulders before gently resting there. You're tense, he murmured. It's been a long morning. His thumbs pressed gently into the knots in her shoulders, and Olivia couldn't suppress a small sound of relief. Julian's hand stilled. Sorry, I shouldn't have. Don't stop, she whispered. He continued the massage, his touch both professional and intimate. Olivia closed her eyes, aware of how close he was standing, how his breath stirred her hair, how easy it would be to turn around and cross the line they were both dancing along. Julian, she said softly, if I'm going to expose Victoria, I need everything. Every email, every document, every piece of evidence. I need to write the real story. His hand stilled on her shoulders. She turned to face him, and they were inches apart. His eyes searched hers. You believe me? It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. Yes, I believe you. The plan. They moved to a small cafe down the street, sitting in a corner booth where they could talk privately. Olivia pulled out her laptop, creating a new file for the real story. Julian sat beside her rather than across from her, their shoulders touching as they worked. "I need to interview Victoria," Olivia said. "For the story to have credibility, I need her side, even if it's lies." Julian tensed. "She's dangerous, Olivia. If she knows you're onto her scheme, then we don't let her know. I'll approach her as if I'm still investigating you. Ask her about your relationship, about the business. Let her think I'm building a case against you." "I don't like it." Olivia turned to look at him and found his face much closer than she'd realized. "I'm a journalist, Julian. This is what I do. It's one of the things He stopped himself, but the unspoken word hung in the air between them. "Just promise me you'll be careful." "I promise." An evening together, neither of them wanted the day to end. As evening approached, Julian suggested dinner. They found themselves at a small Italian restaurant, tucked into a booth in the back. Olivia had turned off her professional recorder, but her mind still cataloged details. The way Julian's eyes crinkled when he smiled. How he listened intently to everything she said. The gentle way he touched her hand across the table. "Tell me something about yourself that has nothing to do with this case," he said, pouring her more wine. Olivia smiled. "I have a cat named Whiskers. Very original, I know. I got him from a shelter 3 years ago. He's orange, fat, and thinks he owns my apartment." Julian laughed, a genuine sound that made her heart skip. "I have a golden retriever named Cooper. He's terrible at being a guard dog because he loves everyone." They talked about books, about travel, about dreams and fears. The investigation faded into the background as they simply existed as two people getting to know each other. When Julian walked her to her car, the night air was cool and filled with possibility. "Olivia," he said as she unlocked her door, "whatever happens with this story with Victoria, I want you to know something." She turned to face him. "What?" "Meeting you might be the best thing that's come from this nightmare." Before she could overthink it, before her professional instincts could stop her, Olivia stepped closer and kissed him. It was soft, tentative, a question more than a statement. Julian responded immediately, his hand coming up to cup her face, deepening the kiss with a tenderness that made her knees weak. When they finally separated, both were breathing hard. Olivia pressed her forehead against his chest, feeling his heart racing as fast as hers. "This is complicated," she whispered. "I know. I still have to write the story." "I know that too." She looked up at him. 48 hours are almost up." Julian smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Then I guess we better make sure the truth comes out." Olivia scheduled the interview with Victoria Sterling for the following afternoon at an upscale cafe in the financial district. She dressed carefully in a professional navy suit, her hair pulled back every inch, the serious journalist. Her recorder was hidden in her purse. Her phone was set to automatically save backup audio. Victoria arrived 10 minutes late, making an entrance that turned heads. She was stunning in the classical sense, with platinum blonde hair styled in perfect waves. Designer clothes that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent, and the kind of confidence that came from old money. Her smile was practiced and cold. "Miss Hart, how lovely to meet you." Victoria's handshake was brief, her fingers cool. "I understand you're writing a piece about Julian Pierce." Olivia smiled professionally, noting how Victoria's eyes held no warmth despite her pleasant tone. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. I'm trying to get a complete picture of Mr. Pierce's business practices and personal character." Victoria settled into her chair, ordering an expensive tea without looking at the menu. "Well, I can certainly help with the personal character part. I was engaged to Julian for 2 years. I know him better than most." The web of lies for the next hour, Victoria painted a picture of Julian as a manipulative, controlling man who hid his true nature behind charm and charitable donations. She spoke of financial improprieties she had supposedly witnessed, of shady business deals conducted in private, of a temper he kept carefully hidden from the public. Olivia took notes, her face neutral, asking follow-up questions that seemed to accept Victoria's narrative. Inside, her stomach churned. Every word was a carefully constructed lie, delivered with the skill of someone who had practiced this story many times. "The documents you received," Victoria said, leaning forward conspiratorially. "I assume they showed the offshore accounts, the bribes to city officials." "That's exactly the kind of thing Julian does." He He's very careful about covering his tracks. Olivia's pen paused. You seem to know quite a bit about those documents. Victoria's smile never wavered, but something flickered in her eyes. A moment of calculation. I saw similar things when we were together. Julian kept files at home. I tried to warn people, but no one would listen. He's too powerful, too connected. This must have been difficult, Olivia said carefully. Being engaged to someone like that was a nightmare. Victoria dabbed at dry eyes with a tissue. Breaking off the engagement was the hardest thing I ever did. He tried to ruin my reputation, told people I was only after his money. Can you imagine? The confrontation begins. Olivia closed her notebook, her expression thoughtful. Miss Sterling, I need to ask you something directly. Did you send me those documents? The cafe seemed to grow quieter. Victoria's face went through several expressions in rapid succession before settling on offended innocence. Excuse me? Why would I do that? Because every document I received was a sophisticated forgery. The signatures are fake, the dates don't match, the companies don't exist. Someone went to enormous trouble to frame Julian Pierce, and that someone had intimate knowledge of his business operations. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't have to listen to these accusations. Julian has clearly gotten to you. How much is he paying you to discredit me? Olivia remained seated, her voice calm. I'm not being paid by anyone. I'm a journalist looking for the truth. And the truth is that you orchestrated an elaborate scheme to destroy Julian because he ended your engagement. You have no proof. Olivia pulled out her phone. Scrolling to a photo of the handwritten plans Julian had found. Actually, I do. Your handwriting, your planning, your admission that you intended to use me as your weapon. It's all documented. Victoria's mask slips. The change in Victoria was instantaneous. The sweet, victimized ex-fiancé vanished, replaced by someone cold and calculating. She sat back down, her smile now predatory. So he found those, did he? I wondered if he would. Julian always was thorough. She sipped her tea casually. But what are you going to do, Miss Hart? Write a story exposing me? My family has lawyers that will bury you in your little newspaper before you can hit publish? I'm not afraid of lawyers. Should be. Victoria leaned forward. You should also be afraid of what I know about you. Did you really think I chose you randomly? I know about your failed marriage, about your ex-husband who left you for his assistant. I know about the drinking problem you had afterward, the therapy, the 6 months you took off from work. How do you think that will look when I tell everyone you wrote this hit piece because you're sleeping with Julian? Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. The words hit like physical blows, dredging up painful memories she had worked hard to move past. But she kept her voice steady. My personal life is irrelevant to the facts of this case. Facts. Victoria laughed, a harsh sound. Facts are whatever people believe, and I have the money and connections to make them believe anything I want. You're just a journalist, Olivia. I'm Victoria Sterling. Who do you think the public will trust? Julian's arrival, as if summoned by the tension, Julian appeared at their table. He must have been waiting nearby, watching. His face was set in hard lines as he looked at Victoria. That's enough, Victoria. She turned to him with false sweetness. Julian, darling, how nice of you to crash our little chat. Are you here to threaten me too? I'm here to tell you that it's over. Every lie, every forgery, every attempt to destroy my reputation. Olivia has documented everything. The real story is going to be published, and it's not about me. It's about you. Victoria stood, gathering her purse with jerky movements. You'll regret this, both of you. I will make your lives miserable. My father sits on the board of directors for the newspaper that employs you. Miss Hart, one phone call and you're unemployed? Actually, a new voice interrupted. He doesn't anymore. They all turned to see Robert Chen, Olivia's editor, standing a few feet away with a folder in his hands. Mr. Sterling resigned from our board this morning after I showed him the evidence of his daughter's criminal activities. Forgery, fraud, defamation. He's distancing himself to avoid being implicated. Victoria's face went white, then red. My father would never. Your father is a businessman who knows when to cut his losses, Robert continued. He's also deeply ashamed of what you've done. The story runs tomorrow, Miss Sterling. Front page. The aftermath, Victoria left without another word, her expensive heels clicking angrily against the floor. The cafe erupted in quiet chatter as people realized they had witnessed something dramatic. Olivia stood on shaky legs, and Julian was immediately at her side, his hand on her elbow steadying her. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, though she felt anything but okay. Victoria's words about her past still stung, reopening old wounds. "She knew everything about me. She researches her victims thoroughly. It's how she operates." Julian's thumb traced circles on her arm, a comforting gesture. "But none of what she said changes who you are now. You're an incredible journalist with integrity and courage." Robert approached them, his expression proud. "Olivia, that was expertly handled. You got her to admit everything on tape." "You were recording?" Julian asked. Olivia patted her purse. "I told her I was recording our interview. She just assumed I turned it off when the conversation got personal." Journalists rarely turn off their recorders. Writing the truth that evening, Olivia sat in Julian's apartment surrounded by documents, recordings, and notes. Cooper, the golden retriever, had his head on her lap while she typed. Julian sat beside her on the couch, reading through sections as she finished them, offering corrections and additional context. The story took shape over hours of intense work. It detailed Victoria's elaborate revenge plot, the forged documents, the manipulation of a journalist to serve as an unwitting weapon. But it also told Julian's side, the successful businessman who had built his empire honestly, only to be targeted by a vindictive ex-fiancée who couldn't accept rejection. "Here," Olivia said, showing Julian a paragraph. "I want to make sure this is accurate." He read it, his expression softening. The passage described their first meeting, how Olivia had almost published false information, but chose to investigate further instead. It painted her as a thorough journalist, and him as a man wrongly accused who had faith in the truth. "It's perfect," Julian said quietly. "You're being fair to everyone, even Victoria in some ways. You're explaining why she did what she did without excusing it. It's journalism. Everyone gets their story told." Julian set the laptop aside, taking her hands in his. "Olivia, when this publishes tomorrow, everything changes. Victoria's reputation will be destroyed. There will be legal consequences for her. And people will know about us. I mentioned it in the article. Full disclosure. That during the investigation, we developed a personal relationship. It's the ethical thing to do.
I know.
I just want to make sure you're ready for the scrutiny." A new beginning. Olivia looked at this man who had entered her life so unexpectedly, turning a simple investigation into something that had changed her fundamentally. She thought about the walls she had built after her divorce, the way she had thrown herself into work to avoid feeling anything real. Julian had broken through all of that without even trying. "I'm ready," she said. "For all of it, the article, the backlash, whatever comes next. Because the truth matters, and you matter." Julian pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. "I never thought I'd trust anyone again after Victoria. But then you walked into my office with your determination and your intelligence and your beautiful, skeptical eyes, and everything changed. Is that your way of saying you have feelings for me, Mr. Pierce?" He smiled, that genuine smile that made his whole face light up. "I'm saying I'm falling in love with you, Miss Hart. Completely and terrifyingly in love with you." Olivia's breath caught. The word should have scared her, should have sent her running back behind her professional walls. Instead, they felt like coming home. "I'm falling in love with you too," she whispered. "Even though it's crazy and fast and completely unprofessional." Their kiss was different this time. Not tentative or questioning, but sure and deep and full of promise. When they finally separated, both were smiling. Publication data. Next morning. Olivia's article hit the front page of the newspaper and the online edition simultaneously. The headline read, "The Revenge Plot. How a Scorned Ex-Fiancé Weaponized the Media to Destroy an Innocent Man." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded with discussions about journalistic integrity, about vindictive exes, about the importance of verifying sources. Victoria Sterling's name trended on Twitter, mostly with condemnation. Several other people came forward with stories of Victoria's manipulative behavior. Adding credibility to Olivia's reporting, by noon, Victoria's father had issued a public statement disowning his daughter's actions and pledging cooperation with any legal investigations. By evening, the district attorney had announced they were looking into pressing charges for fraud and forgery. Olivia watched it all unfold from Julian's apartment, her laptop open, monitoring responses and answering interview requests. Julian brought her coffee and food, taking care of her while she worked. Cooper lay at her feet, a comforting presence. Robert called, Julian said, sitting beside her. He said the paper's circulation is up 300% today. Your article is being picked up by national news outlets. Olivia smiled tiredly. That's good. The truth is getting out. You did that. You took a complicated situation and found the real story underneath. The cost and the reward, not everyone was happy with the article. Some accused Olivia of being biased because of her relationship with Julian. Others claimed she had fabricated evidence to protect him. The criticism stung, but it was drowned out by praise from fellow journalists, from ethics experts, from people who appreciated thorough investigative work. Victoria's lawyers sent a letter threatening to sue for defamation. But it was an empty threat. Every fact in Olivia's article was documented and verified. The recordings, the handwritten plans, the forensic analysis of the forged documents, all of it was solid. A week after publication, Julian and Olivia attended a charity gala together, their first public appearance as a couple. They arrived hand in hand, facing down cameras and questions with grace. Olivia wore a simple but elegant black dress, and Julian couldn't take his eyes off her. You're staring, she murmured as they moved through the crowd. Can you blame me? You're extraordinary. She squeezed his hand, feeling truly happy for the first time in years. The investigation that was supposed to destroy Julian had instead revealed the truth and brought them together. What started as a professional obligation had become something beautiful and real. Looking forward months later, Olivia received a journalism award for her reporting on the Victoria Sterling case. Julian sat in the audience, beaming with pride as she accepted the honor. In her speech, she talked about the importance of thorough investigation, of not accepting information at face value, of always seeking the truth, no matter where it led. After the ceremony, they walked through the city together, hand in hand. The early evening air was cool, and the streetlights were just coming on. I never thanked you properly, Julian said suddenly. For what? For believing in me. For taking the time to find the truth, when it would have been easier to just publish what Victoria gave you. Olivia stopped walking, turning to face him. I'm a journalist. Finding the truth is what I do. But I'll admit, you made it easier to keep digging. Something about you made me want to know the real story. Julian cupped her face in his hands. I love you, Olivia Hart. Every stubborn, determined, brilliant part of you. I love you too, Julian Pierce. Even though you completely derailed my investigation and made me question everything I thought I knew about keeping professional distance. They laughed together, and Julian kissed her right there on the busy street corner. Neither of them caring who saw or what anyone thought. They had faced lies, manipulation, and public scrutiny together. They had chosen truth over convenience, integrity over ease, and in doing so, they had found something neither had been looking for but both desperately needed: love that was real, honest, and built on a foundation of trust. The journalist who set out to expose corruption had instead uncovered a plot, revealed the truth, and found her own happy ending in the process. As they continued walking through the city, their future stretched before them, full of possibility. Whatever challenges came next, they would face them together, just as they had faced Victoria's schemes, with courage, honesty, and an unshakable commitment to the truth. The end.